Welcome to Uncovered Inside Out Insights, and thank you for tuning in to this really special episode. I'm delighted to have Mark Bowden on the call, the #1 body language professional in the entire world. So, Mark, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Alex.
You're welcome. I mean, it's really, really amazing that you've made it here, and I hope over the next 45 minutes we can get quite a lot of insight from you. I'll just introduce you, Mark Bowden. You've been voted the #1 body language professional in the entire world for 2 years running. So yeah, now it's time to sit up straight, even if you're sitting at home, which I guess most of you are. You're going to be sitting at home watching. And please leave some comments, leave some questions for Mark on the show. So Mark is the founder of the communication company TRUTHPLANE. His clients include leading business people, politicians, presidents of Fortune 500 companies, and prime ministers of G7 powers. Wow, that's just incredible. So with years of experience training people across the globe on how to use digital media most effectively for better communication, Mark, you're now even a trainer for Zoom, equipping equipping their employees as well with best practices around virtual communication. And your TEDx talk has reached millions of people around the world. And you've regularly been called upon by the media to comment on body language around elections and debates, most recently appearing on Dr. Phil's show. And Mark, you've written 4 books on body language and human behavior, including the bestseller Truth and Lies, What People Are Really Thinking. So in case it's not yet clear, Mark, you're the world's foremost authority on nonverbal communication. So we're delighted to have you today. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for that. Thanks for getting through that resume there. That was quite a battle. It's more than I deserve.
No, it's all you. I mean, yeah, you have like an impressive and amazing career, and like the 4 books you've written. I mean, it's going to be amazing to dive deep into that and see what insights we can get from it.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, so let's kick things off. So let's start off with like Truth and Lies. I was actually reading that this week. I was also reading it like an hour before the call. I was going through it again. And I think there was like such a powerful story at the beginning. You begin with that Paul the Human Polygraph. So, I mean, can we all learn how to tell if someone is telling the truth or a lie based on body language to this degree, to the degree that we can all be human polygraphs? Is it a learnable skill to be able to...
Yeah, well, yes, to the degree that we can be human polygraphs, because really with the polygraph, it is the human being that makes it effective. It's really more about the human being involved rather than the very simple electronics involved in that. Look, there is no single indicator of telling a lie or deceit. Really, to dive into how honest somebody's being, how accurate they're being about the story that they're telling you. Really, it's about critical thinking. And so that's what Truth and Lies is really about. I would say this book here is a book on critical thinking disguised as a book on body language. It's got all the stuff that you'd really love in a book on body language. You know, all the research, all the cues, all the indicators that you want to have. But ultimately, all that is leading you towards is a real understanding of how to be more accurate about understanding the human beings around you. That's why I like the book so much. Not only written by me, co-written by Tracy Thompson as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a fantastic book. I mean, and I love what Jamie just said. He says he loves how Truth and Lies is a critical thinking book wrapped up in the body language, guys. It's really about how we can use our minds, and I think that's actually what you touch upon that in like so many of your books as well. Like there's just like so much gold in like so many of them. Like in Tame the Primitive Brain, which I have over here. Primitive Brain. Then, like you say on page 158, that humans are hardwired from birth to live, work, and play in tribes. And like, yeah, what can you do when you're the new kid on the block to really adapt to the tribe itself?
Yeah. Okay. So when you move groups, so look, we're social mammals. Okay. Mm-hmm. And there's a part of our brain, the social mammalian brain, which is only there in order to help us become part of a group and understand what group we're part of, and even be able to detect that group at a distance or even we may go to a different geographical location and be able to see at a distance, I think that's somebody that it would work out okay with. I think they hold the same values, beliefs, rituals, customs, goals, concerns, and signals, which is a model that I put forward in Tame the Primitive Brain, around the criteria under which we bond together as human beings. Here's what you need to understand, is that when you change groups, when you change tribes, it's really expensive. that could literally mean cash expensive, or in fact, neurally expensive. Your brain has to literally change. It needs to reform some links between the neurons. And if that tribe changes to set within you, it has to put myelin sheaths around that, so they will last a long, long time. Anybody out there who, if you're listening right now and you're feeling, oh yeah, I think I've changed groups at some point, I've moved countries, or maybe I went to university, or I joined a different family, like I got married, or I got into a really serious relationship and I started hanging out with the family of my spouse, or that was painful, wasn't it? That was harder than you thought. I mean, at the start, it was kind of okay, because your brain was, the relationship was in a stage whereby it will put in a lot of energy in order to mask the pain. We call that the infatuation stage of any relationship. Okay, and so it put in a lot of effort, and then it ran out of steam, and then suddenly you went, wow, it's exhausting being in this situation. And then you maybe kind of sprung back in your behavior to your old group, and then you found, oh no, I don't even quite fit in there either, because I now see some of the odd values, beliefs, rituals, customs, goals, concerns, and signals that this other group have. So look, changing tribes, changing groups is super painful. And what Tame the Primitive Brain, 28 Ways in 28 Days to Manage the Most Impulsive Behavior at Work does, is to help you manage yourself around other people, other groups. We often mistake personalities for individuals, but really there aren't any individuals apart from some neural outliers out there. There are no individuals. There are just members of groups who don't show up with the others. And so we go, oh, I don't get on with this person. It's their personality. No, it's not. It's their whole group. It's their whole group you don't get on with. It's very rare that people show up as individuals. They're just there on their own without the rest of their team. Anyway, hope that makes sense. We've got some great comments coming in.
Yeah. First comment over here, just on the tribe thing. Why do we sometimes choose the wrong tribe? By Joyce Escobar. I think that's quite interesting what you were just saying now, actually, around about that. And you sometimes don't get along with different personalities, but it's actually really the tribe that you don't get along with. So why do we sometimes choose the wrong tribe?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there could be a whole bunch of reasons there. Number one, sometimes we're compelled into having to be part of a group because maybe we change locations and we can't find our old tribe there. And so we have to, in order to survive, be part of a group. And it's not necessarily, Joyce, that we've chosen the wrong tribe. It's just we cannot sustain the effort in order to make that change. It's so expensive for the brain to make that change. It's so exhausting for it to happen that once the infatuation stage is over, we just don't have the energy to sustain that. So I'm not sure whether, Joyce, that's the answer that you're looking for. Because wouldn't it be great if it's just like, no, these are the wrong group for me? I don't think there are a wrong group for a human being. We are designed to get involved with the group for our survival. It's just sometimes we're so inserted with the last group that the change is just so painful and so expensive. It can't be sustained. Anyway, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's golden, and there's like so much in here that we can talk about. I mean, it's like a real powerful book.
It's a great book, and very little read of all the books. I think it's actually one of the best books that I wrote. and for all kinds of reasons, a very long negative title being one of them. It didn't sell as well as, or let's just say it's not read as much as it really should be, because really what I was trying to tackle was that awful pain of getting on with other people, and always, for really good reasons, making it about them and not about you. Remember, all other human beings exist in your head. Now, of course, they exist in real, corporal life as well. They are living, breathing bodies. They're made up of atoms, just like you. But there's an idea about them which is transported to you via their behavior and your own ideas of decoding that behavior that cause those other human beings to exist as an idea in your head. And so, really what that is about is how do you deal with the immense difficulty of the idea of other people in your mind, and how can you potentially be a little bit more open to new ideas of people? Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that reminds me of a quote actually by Charles Corley. It's like, I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am.
Yeah.
Every individual exists within that looking glass self. It's like, again, we create that. And I'm just wondering about culture as well. Does that mean that like our perceptions of like body language, does that come from our own cultural perceptions? Like, there's myths that we have, like, again, someone's folding their arms, and that must mean that they're like defensive or something like that. Because that's a very Western thing, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't
So there's stuff you've read about what something means. There's stuff you've experienced about what something has turned out to be. And so you've set an idea in your head. Well, that will always be that. There was that event that happened where somebody said something, they crossed their arms, and then there was a ramification of that, and you went, "Uh-oh, well, then every time I see somebody cross my arms, let's go for it's going to mean the same kind of thing. Better to be safe than sorry. Let's not come up with a new theory every time I see somebody cross their arms. Let's stick with that theory that had a massive impact on me." So there's events in our lives that have some kind of impact, or they come from stories where impact is put around them, or somebody who has an impact on your life tells you, they go, somebody's status goes, "Look, here's what, every time you see somebody cross their arms, you want to watch out." That creates the environment by which we then decode. And so, part of what Truth and Lies is about is, can you critically think this rather than emotionally? There's nothing wrong with emotions, by the way, but just you're going to have those anyway. Okay. You're going to have emotions anyway. Like, you're going to have those. You're going to have a cultural response anyway by default, but it is not your default to have a critical response to something. And so we need to choose the critical response, because we're going to have the emotional one and the intuitive one and the cultural one. By default, you're going to get it. So what I talk about is about taking those responses and putting them on a shelf. I actually, in my mind, I literally see myself. I have a emotional or a cultural response or an intuitive response to the behaviors that I see around me. And then I go, and if I'm working, then I go, okay, take that, put that to one side. And sometimes I'll even literally mime it out for myself, so I know where it is, and I can leave that, and I can go and grab that again if I like. Okay, but I've decided to put it to one side for a moment, and now have as much as I can, a pure cognitive critical response to things, and lay myself open to way more ideas. By the way, great to see lots of people on here, and people I know. Jamie, good to see you, and Sadie there, and Karen, and Tatiana, fantastic. Lots of people who good to see you. Saya, hey Saya, good to see you.
Yeah, great to see Saya tuning in. She says again, hello, fellow panelists. So yeah, please leave a comment. Like, and great to see people coming. And to what you're saying about critical thinking, like, I think it's like really important, like, because we can have the emotional response, we got the intuitive one. But I mean, the question here from Jamie, he was just saying, do you think that critical thinking is on the decline? And if yes, why do you think that is? I mean, it's so important when it comes to body language, right? And also that scan methodology that you were talking about in the book as well. Like, because it's a book where you're like all your books, I guess, are training you about critical thinking. But do you think that it is on the decline?
Yeah, gosh, Jamie, I don't have the stats on that. So do I think it's on the decline? I don't have the information to do that pure thought. Do I feel it's on the? I often feel it's on the decline, and or I often meet somebody and I feel immediately, I'm like, I don't think you're really thinking about this, and that can upset me because you know I'm quite wedded to the idea. I try and seek out to do critical thinking as much as I possibly can. So Jamie, I don't know. My guess is, Jamie, that you have your thoughts on on that. Yeah, you have your thoughts on that. Maybe. Look. Oh well, here's what I'd say, Jamie. Is my guess is I wouldn't have written books that are critical thinking books disguised as something else if I didn't think, number one, critical thinking is really important. And that maybe people aren't getting it elsewhere. So let me put it that way, Jamie. I think it can be hard to find critical thinking training. Okay, I think it'd be hard to come across it. And so, but is it on the decline? No, we have a neocortex, and it's designed partly to do that. And so as soon as the top of the head here gets smaller and smaller and smaller, once that starts happening, then I'll go, oh yeah, look, critical thinking is on the decline. Look at the size of people's heads right now. They've got so much smaller. We don't have the capacity for it. That neocortex is very much there to do fine motor function and critical thinking. Hope that makes sense to you, Jamie. Nice
Yeah,
answer.
he says over here. Yeah, nice answer. So yeah, and we have another question coming in here from Christina. How does our body language influence business negotiations? And how do we have to prepare for some of the cultural peculiarities of a country to make the negotiations amazing? So it's really interesting because especially when communicating across different cultures, whether it's going to be communicating, like again, in Russia as an Englishman, like I remember when I was negotiating in Russia, yeah, there were some interesting peculiarities of body language and the way that they were so direct and literally pointing at me, something like that. But other peculiarities was, yeah, let's look at Christine's question. How does our body language influence business negotiations across countries?
Well, so it influences because of this, is that we judge you before you've even started negotiating. We judge you and we decide what our behaviors should be, some of the patterns that we think we should play out before you've even started negotiating based on your behavior. Because what you do with your body and the environment that you present to me helps me understand your values, beliefs, rituals, customs, goals, concerns, and signals, and therefore what group you belong to. And are you in an in-group with me or an out-group with me? And if you're in an out-group with me, I can't trust you as much. I mean, I could and I should, but I won't, because I judge you and you judge me. And if you're perceived to be on an in-group with me, I will judge you better. I shouldn't, but I do, because my brain only has so much capacity, just like yours, and it's designed to do best fit thinking, not best thinking, best fit thinking, because it costs a lot to get this thing going, and so it will try and conserve energy at all times by just looking for the best fit. So we frame the negotiation by what is presented to us. Now, on those cultural peculiarities, let me tell you about a conversation that I just came from before I got on with you, Alex, which I was talking to my friend, colleague, Lucille Osai, whose book, oh, hang on, stay there a second. Let me just go.
Yeah, we'll stay here.
Lucille's book. This is Lucille's book, which I totally recommend. Influence and Thrive by Lucille. Lucille, though she has lived and worked and studied extensively in the UK, now is originally, I believe, from Nigeria, West Africa, and she lives there now. So she knows that culture very, very well, as much as she knows the British culture and the Western business and European culture and world culture actually very, very well. She's a real, world traveler. Anyway, we were talking about finger pointing. Now, it's a good generalization, rough generalization. It is a generalization to say that finger pointing can be perceived across some, but not all cultures as a little bit forward and sometimes a little bit rude. In Nigeria, as I found out today, it's like, you don't do it, especially if somebody ranks above you, especially if they rank above you, because it is accusatory that they have done something very, very wrong, very wrong. And it was brilliant. I'm going to put the video that Lucille and I made up on LinkedIn. Okay. And so follow me on LinkedIn so you can see that. And I want you to notice how when Lucille does finger pointing with me, her whole emotion changes. And it's quite funny for me to watch, because I'm like, wow, when I do finger pointing, my emotions don't change like your emotions change when you do finger pointing. So look, there's an example, Christina, of if I don't know that, and I go to, and I'm negotiating with, the Nigerian community, and I start finger pointing, for me, it might be very ordinary. I mean, a bit forward, still a bit forward, but I don't think I'm going to offend radically. It turns out, from what Lucille was saying, I could offend radically. I mean, she was laughing because she was going, I'm just thinking of the ramifications of how I would lose my job if I do this. So it's wow, this would literally take food off the table for you and your kids. So Eddie here is saying not only Nigeria, yeah, there could be some other cultures out there where it's really quite extreme. I mean, it still has some forceful meaning in the UK, but not that extreme, I would say. Anyway, I hope that's helpful for people.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a really amazing answer over there. I mean, it has cultural ramifications. It really does. Christina again says that she works for the TAM region, and it's very different to how Russian people negotiate. And that you've worked with prime ministers of G7 countries. I mean, like several, in fact. So, what's it like to coach the leader of a world country?
Yeah. So, as a good generalization, I think the insights that I can bring, they are just like everybody else. So, two arms, roughly 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head, roughly in the same place as all of us. They're fighting gravity the same way. So there's some fundamental similarities and issues that they have. And they're dealing with hierarchy, just like you and I are, maybe a higher hierarchy. But they're still dealing with, like, how do I present myself to my peers, to the hierarchy? How do I engage those people, across that spectrum and below that spectrum as well? They're dealing with the same stuff, just in a different location. And I think the other thing to present is, just when you're working with them, you have a very short space of time. You have to engage them very, very fast. You have to get them to trust you very, very fast. And you have a very short time span to make often a radical difference. And not necessarily in exactly what they're doing. Some of the differences I can make are really quite subtle, but they cascade and they pile up. But you're looking to make a radical difference to the perception that they're getting outside and the actions that others might be taking. Anyway, I hope that answers for you.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you have a short space of time to make a big difference. It can cascade and make a huge difference, because then their actions are affecting large populations of people. And now we can all have the ability to influence large populations of people because we're all online. We're presenting virtually. So Sia is asking, are there noticeable differences in seeing body language signals between 2 dimensions, or I guess like on the screen versus in person? Yeah.
Yes, there are. Yeah. So the lens is very, very okay. So let me just bring you one very, very important difference, which is to do with proximity or proxemics. It was Edward Hall, I believe, who first came up with this idea as a behaviorist. He was looking at birds, I think, originally. It's kind of an ornithologist, and looking at territory and trying to work out, can we define, can we codify, can we create a model around the space that people take up with each other and what that might mean. Now, here's the really interesting thing. As I'm talking to you right now, the lens of the camera is putting me pretty certainly within personal space, maybe even, as Hall would describe it, intimate space with you right now. And I've even gone close to the mic so I can almost whisper in your ear. And my guess is you're okay with this. You're kind of enjoying this. If I did this in the same geographical location, in the same geographical space, we were in the same space in real life with each other, we'd have to know each other really, really well, or you'd have to already trust me at a really high level, or you would be so under threat and pressure already that you would suspend your usual judgments around this happening. I can make it, let me go, you know what I'm going to do is go even, oh, I can't go closer. It won't zoom me in anymore.
Well, I
So
can make you a lot bigger
all
on
right, well, I'll
screen.
just
So
get
see over there.
even closer here. I'm definitely in intimate space with you right now. You know what? I'm even going to point at you. Yeah. And it probably feels kind of okay on TV, on video. You're used to the close-up. The close-up in film is a stock, whereas the close-up in real life is like, we know something is really up when people get close up. Anyway, I hope that kind of describes to you one of the noticeable differences in that, Saya. I can utilize that in that I can trick your mind into feeling very close to me very quickly, because if I get into intimate space with you on camera, it doesn't trigger fight and flight. There may be some outliers that it will do with, but on the whole, it's not going to, because part of your brain knows, hey, two-dimensional human being on a screen is not real, okay? Or not really in my space. So that's the beauty of virtual communication, is you can start to break down the barriers of intimacy much faster. There's some verbal ways to do it as well. And when you combine the two, the verbal ways of escalating intimacy and the non-verbal ways of escalating intimacy via camera, you can, if you understand those techniques, you can escalate the intimacy with whoever you're talking to really quickly. I call it quick set intimacy, which is you can get intimate with somebody very fast and set it very solid very, very quickly. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, quick set intimacy. I mean, yeah, then it's like something where you can really like escalate and then cascade up the human ladder, like really cascade up like the ladder of human behavior over there. Like what Sia said, that she says that she can see your facial movement much easier. And she has a further question, actually. Is this recommended in negotiations then? Would you?
Well, actually, sorry, let me tell you a little secret about this, is that, and I'm going to be honest with you, really honest with you here, and let you in really behind the scenes of what's going on. And I just want you to notice, if I get close to the mic and close to you, and I say, let me tell you a little secret, how much does your brain go, oh, this is exciting. This is really exciting. So look how I used it just then. And have you ever noticed in negotiations that moment sometimes of going, look, okay, let me be open with, let me just tell you the truth. Let me be open with you. Let me tell you what's really going on behind the scenes, and how I might be able to escalate that by using the camera and using the close-up and using the close-up on the mic as well, and using that strong eye contact in a way that if I did this in a physical negotiation with you in a boardroom and I scooched up my chair and I got this close to you, part of your brain would be most likely, not always, this would happen, but with some, but not all people, okay? But I would gamble you'd be most likely to go, hang on, Mark, what's going on? What's going on here? Okay. Whereas here, you're more likely to feel okay about it. again, I hope that was a decent demonstration for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to then feel like I really feel actually feeling like a sense of like again, like going further away when you're leaning back and then coming a lot closer. There's like I can
Right.
just feel this sense of it, like
Well,
on here.
let me change the proxemics with you a little bit. Let me just do that with you. There we go. Let's go right. There we go. Let's do that, and let me go right out to here with you. Okay, and so we're now in what I would definitely call kind of social space. Okay, and so you're hearing the resonance of the room as well. You're getting to see parts of this room that you wouldn't normally see. I've opened out the lens so much. So you're seeing the door here to the outside, and anyway, so you're seeing more of the space around me. Okay, do you feel so connected with me? Okay, let me just go into public space with you now. So this is the kind of space we'd have between us if we were, a long way away. So I'll project even more with my voice. This is the same me, same author, written these same books here. Do you feel so connected with me? Because, recognize, I want to connect with you right now. And remember that connection that we had with each other. Do you feel so connected? And now what I'm going to do is come forward here. Yeah. And let's close up the lens. I'm probably changing the focus there more than anything else, but there we go. Let's go into here. There I am. Let's get into closer proximity right here. Yeah. And what if I say things like, you know what, I just don't know you. I don't know who you are. Do you notice how you're going, yeah, you do, Mark, you do. Look, you're right next to me. Of course you know me.
You're making me want to cry when you say that, actually, when you say you don't know me. We're talking for 30 minutes now.
Right, because I've been using techniques that are designed for you to bond to me. Okay? And so it's very hard for you to let go of those links that I've formed with you, because I've been using all the time, not only with you, Alex, but everybody here, quick set intimacy techniques. Yeah. Anyway, hope that's, as Martin says, fascinating. Hey, Martin, great to see you here. Thanks for showing up. Martin there saying hi. Always great to see Martin.
Yeah, Martin saying always fascinating. We have Jamie saying that's such a powerful idea. Yeah, Sadie saying you're analyzing us. We have lots of people saying that you're again showing your hands. Great to see that you're wearing pants and that you also have no shorts done today. Yeah, and also again John coming in saying great interview, great lessons over here. But I was wondering, is all of this really authentic? Like when we're learning so-called body language, like techniques, tips, and some would even say tricks. Again, would this come across as maybe staged, or is it authentic? Or is it uncovering our true authentic selves?
Yeah.
Where would you say?
Well, first of all, I mean, there's a bunch of ways that we can tackle this. And one of the things you might want to do, if people haven't watched it, is go and see my TEDx talk, the importance of being inauthentic, because obviously I have an attitude on this. Okay. So first of all, people get the wrong idea, in my view, of what authenticity is and what it originally meant in terms of Jungian psychology. And the idea got more than a little bit corrupted by certain groups. But let's tackle it this way, first of all. Alex, authenticity. If I am authentic, is that good or bad?
I would like to say good.
Why? Why would you like to say good?
Because it's being transparent. It's like showing us who you are. And when we're all authentic, then I think that makes the world a better place.
Does it? What if there's something that disgusts me about you?
At least you're being honest then.
At least I'm being honest, but it could really hurt you. So am I right to hurt you?
Then you're causing harm, and it's like
right.
It's a bit of a paradox. No, it's not.
Yeah. So it's not. So it's not good. So I don't know. So is it good or bad? Because here's what popular culture does. Popular current current pop psychology culture has said authentic good, inauthentic bad. That's basically what I think I'm fair in saying, you know, that you will get authenticity shamed as well. People will stand
Ooh.
around you and go, I don't think they're being authentic. No, I don't think they were. No. How do they know? What do they know about authentic? Only you know when you're being authentic or not. How would anybody have any other view on it? It's just their judgment. Okay. So authenticity and inauthenticity has become, in my view, an awful pop psychology term, which is purely designed, I would suggest, to make people feel bad and to make people feel good, because they can now cast their judgments, especially their negative judgments about other people, cast them as being, well, they're not being authentic, rather than I don't like their behavior. I have a judgment. I judge them. Or because also, if you judge other people, that's bad. And if you're non-judgmental, that's good. So I see lots of people go around, go, well, I'm very unjudgmental. No, you're not. Don't be ridiculous. Don't be stupid. That's ridiculous. Of course you're judgmental. You'd be dead now if you weren't judgmental. If you didn't judge instantly what was happening on the road, you'd be dead in a second. Did you work it out cognitively? No, you judged it. You judged it. You're only alive because you're judgmental. What you need to do is suspend those judgments and do critical thinking. What you need to do is not walk around going, well, they're authentic and they're not authentic. Is to go, I feel like I don't like that person and I wonder why. Let me put that judgment to one side. If I'm in a safe place, if I'm not under physical harm and I have enough resources around me, let me take my judgment, put it to one side and go, what's going on here? Why do I instinctually judge them like that and put a value system around them of good or bad, but then transfer that into authentic and inauthentic? Authentic and inauthentic is a moral stance, and it's the same kind of moral stance that many religions take. Yeah, and this new idea of authenticity, inauthenticity, in my historic view, came from a quasi-religious organization that popularized it. Okay, you can do your own research around that. If you want to have a conversation with me about it, I could reveal where my thinking comes from around that without getting myself into a lawsuit here and now. Okay. So listen, I could rant on all day about this and I would be, relatively fierce about it, because I think it's a terrible, authenticity and inauthenticity is a terrible, terrible idea. It's an awful idea on so many levels. Yeah. And if you disagree with me, I just don't care.
But let's move on. Let's move on to that, because you're talking about You were talking about snap judgments as well, and one thing that's in here in Tame the Primitive Brain. One of my favorite parts is the day 2 action, where you say notice as many snap judgments as possible. And I have so many, like about being mindful of your own thoughts and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So notice your snap judgments. I mean, I don't only do it for a day. because it's like it's a lot of neural capacity to go around doing that. But yeah, just notice how many decisions you're making unconsciously in a day, subconsciously, whatever terminology you're happy with on that. And don't say, look, I've got to stop making these snap judgments. You can't. You'll die if you do that. Or you can't eat enough food in a day to provide enough energy to your brain to be able to cognitively think, everything out. But it is worth noticing, just so you really understand yourself, how many snap judgments you're making in a day.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be mindful and then just really understand. And I guess this is where critical thinking will come from getting a better understanding of ourselves. And what I like is that you actually say that some of the decisions that you make in the heat of the moment might be the right ones. those
Oh yeah.
intuitive ones. But yeah, we need to bring our capacity for critical thinking to discern: are they the right ones? Are they not? How do we
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Well, look, your intuition is designed for one purpose, to save you, and then next to save the your direct DNA descendant or anybody under your care, and the group. Okay, pretty much in that kind of order. Put your own oxygen mask on first, and then deal with everybody else's oxygen. Your instinct doesn't care about being accurate. It cares about your safety today and accuracy tomorrow. Your instinct wants you to be safe now, accurate tomorrow, which in times of crisis and stress and life and death situations, you don't want to critically think those, first off. You want to, because look, if your instinct is right about the situation, you live. If it's wrong about the situation, you still live. Okay, because you took evasive action. Okay, so it doesn't care whether it's right or wrong, but the same system is used for things which are not about your life and death situation right now. Using the same system, your instinct will send you a message to say that it is accurate. It doesn't ever want you to think that it's inaccurate. It doesn't say, hey, take evasive action now. By the way, this decision is either right, wrong, or something in between. It sends you a feeling as well to go, and by the way, I'm spot on right about this. Okay? Because otherwise you would question it and you would die in some cases. And in some cases you wouldn't die, but it doesn't care. It's still living. It's still okay. So what we have to know is when could we think better and more accurately about things, by knowing my judgment system keeps telling me I'm right, but often I'm inaccurate. Not wrong, inaccurate, and I could be more accurate about this. And that, as the Greek philosophers, or some of the Greek philosophers, or one particular might say, that could help you live better. Your instinct is not interested in you having a better life. It just wants you to have a life. Okay?
Yeah.
If you want a better life, if you want to live better, then you need philosophy, because that's what philosophy was designed to do, is to help you think better and live better. And so now you've got to have critical thinking to live better. Again, hope that makes sense to people.
It makes sense. I think that's actually what all your books are about, are actually a way of living better. The final two books and the final question I want to touch upon is that
Lovely.
winning body language
Yeah.
over here. And also then you have winning body language for sales
Yeah.
professionals. So the question is, why write a separate book for sales professionals?
Yeah. I love how things kind of show up in life, and how people can easily make, based on their own ideas, about how they think the world works, as to why things get done. Certainly with us on the the behavior panel, we have all kinds of things that happen with us about, releasing episodes and not releasing them, or them going off, or, being taken away, and people go, oh, I know why this is because of X, Y, and Z, and huge, immense, brilliant, shiny conspiracy theories happen, where you just go, gosh, it's just nothing, like, you just don't understand the very, very simple piece of mechanics that went on there, which is nothing to do with what you think. And so you've left the port at such an angle, the destination you have reached is nowhere near where we are. So why do a different book, Winning Body Language for Sales Professionals? Here's what happened. First book I ever wrote was Winning Body Language. Okay. And it did very, very well. And the publishers came along and they said, hey, what book would you like to write now? Because your last one did very well. We'd love you to write another book. And so I came to them with this idea, Tame the Primitive Brain. I'd love to write this book. This would be a brilliant book. This would be fantastic. Be really helpful for people, really useful. And I sent them the synopsis and, all the stuff you do when you're pitching people. But I wasn't really pitching. They said, hey, what do you want to write? And I said, I want to write that. And they said, yeah, we don't get it. We don't understand it.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, I'll rewrite it a bit. I'll rejig it a bit. I'll represent it to you. And so I did that. I went away for a few months and like, here it is. What do you think? And they went, no, we just don't get it. I was like, okay. So I went away again. And I rejigged a few ideas and I asked a few people, and it's like I'm pitching a book, and they're saying, well, you write anything you like, and they just keep going like, we don't get it. And I'm going, this is a New York publisher. They're super smart people. Like, they read a lot of books. It's like, what's going on here? Why are they? And so I presented this thing, and like, here it is, and they were like, we just don't get it. Just don't get it. And I went, look. What is it you want me to do? And they say, well, could you write the same book as you wrote before, but for salespeople? And I went, oh, I get it. You want a franchise. You want a franchise. And I literally went, why didn't you just tell me straight off? Why didn't you just say, like, that last one did really well. We now want to segment. Yeah, we now want to segment, and we want to, capitalize on each segment. And I literally went, well, I could get somebody else to write that. And they went, yeah, that'd be okay. So literally at that point, I went, oh, I get it. You weren't really asking what book do I want to write. That was your way of covertly trying to ham-fistedly say, we know what we can sell, but you couldn't say I don't know why you didn't say we know what we can sell. I don't know why you didn't say that. And now I know that every time I get approached by a publisher at any point, I will go, what are you really trying to do here? What's really going on here? What are you really trying to do here? So with Truth and Lies, what people are really thinking, they said, we want a book on body language. And I said, I don't want to write that. She said, I don't want to write a book on reading body language. I said, there's lots of good books out there, and there's lots of really bad ones as well. And I don't know whether I want to be a part of the good and bad books that are out there. I'm not sure whether I want to be in that area. And so ultimately, I said to them, I'm not going to do it. And then I went away and thought, I shouldn't really turn down a book deal. I said, I will do it. I'll write you a book on reading body language, a book on critical thinking disguised as a book on reading body language. It'd just be a bait and switch. And everybody was happy then. Everybody was happy. Okay. Anyway,
great.
That makes sense.
Yeah, makes everyone happy. Yeah, I mean, making people laugh in the comment section, so that's great. And that's about all the time we have left. I just wanted to cap it off by asking you, are there any final thoughts? What would be the one thing that you want to leave our viewers and listeners with?
Oh, well, thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up. It's very kind of you to spend a bit of your time hanging out with us. So that's all I'd like to leave you with is because look, I don't know whether anything that I say has any use, or people ask me questions and I just talk. So if that's been, thanks Jamie, if that's been fantastic, that's a real bonus, isn't it? So that's all I got. Thanks for coming along. Appreciate it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And thank you for sharing your time with us, for sharing 48 minutes, 52 seconds worth of gold. As Eddie just says now, it's extremely useful. So I just want to say thank you very much, Mark.
Thanks, Sadie. Good to see you, Sadie.
Yeah, good to see you, Sadie. Thanks, everyone, for viewing. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And see you again next week. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.